Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to the second episode of Animation Super Basics. Last week we talked about keyframes, and this week we're going to talk about interpolation. Now what is that, besides a big scary word? We're going to jump over here. Last week I talked about how, we have something starting over on this side, and we have it move over time to this point. Now that in between, that calculation that After Effects is running is the interpolation. Alright, so before we get started on any examples, we need to cover two different words: spatial and temporal interpolation. Spatial, simply put, refers to the position that an object is in space. Spatial, space. It's an easy way to remember it. Temporal is a type of sushi that involves shrimp. It's got a kind of a breaded. Wait, no, that's tempura. Right. Temporal it deals with the time. So those are the basic two vocabulary terms that we need to learn for this subject. Rather than going in and just boring you with a whole bunch of explanations of the different types, let's get into the many different ways that After Effects can interpolate those different aspects. So here we have a similar setup from last week. It's just a simple dot, and it moves from left to right. So if you notice, it kind of stays at a standing still position and until it gets to this keyframe, and then kind of shoots off, travels at a constant speed, and then comes to a dead stop at the end here. That is linear interpolation. So basically it's After Effects is just saying, hey, go from point A to point B, stop, just don't do anything special with it. So that's linear. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this shape layer here. And under this one, I'm going to open up the keyframes. I'm going to select both the keyframes, make sure that you're on the first one here. And we're going to just move this down till it's right next to this dot. So now we have two dots moving side by side. Now let's say for this second one, we want it to kind of shoot off and then kind of ease in to a stop here. So what we can do is select this last keyframe, right click on it, go to Keyframe Assistant, easy ease in. This will do exactly what the name implies. You already see there's a difference going on here. So what it's going to do, it's going to shoot off at full speed, and then as it gets closer to the end, it's going to start slowing down and then ease into a stop. Like that. Now, let's take this shape layer, duplicate it, move to that first keyframe, select both the keyframes, select, hold shift, pull it down. All right, so now we're going to now we want this to ease out. So what we're going to do is right click on this first keyframe here, Keyframe Assistant, easy ease out. That makes sense, right? Now this last keyframe, we can actually set it back to be a regular old keyframe. So we can right click on it, go to Keyframe Interpolation down here. And under here, you see Temporal, that's our time. It's under Current Settings, which is a Bezier. We can set this to linear, hit OK. Now you notice that our keyframe has returned back to a diamond shape. Notice they're all leaving at the same time, and they're all arriving at the same time. But it's the journey that's different. All right, so what I'm going to do is duplicate the shape layer again, select it, select both of the keyframes, by hitting the word position. And you can actually, well, let's move this down below this guy. Something like that. And we can actually hit F9. And that'll bring us to our last keyframe type, our last temporal type, which is easy ease. And that's just a combination of easy ease in and easy ease out. You don't hit F9, you can also just go to Keyframe Assistant and go to easy ease. Now this will become more clear with our next example, but as you can see, it's easing out and then easing in. All right, so we have our 4 examples. We have an easy ease in, an easy ease out, and just a regular old linear interpolation. All right, so now we're going to get another one going on here. So we're going to duplicate it again, and we're going to open up our things. We're going to select our keyframes, and we're going to move this one right to here. All right, so what we're going to do is select both these keyframes, go to Keyframe Interpolation, and set this to linear. I'm going to come down to about the middle here. We're going to click, drag, and pull this down. Now you notice it's on a curve and then goes back up. So what we can do here is click on this middle keyframe, go to Keyframe Assistant, and easy ease, or hit F9. So now you're going to see exactly what the easy ease is doing. As you can see, it kind of hangs down there and then comes back up. Again, leaving at the same time, arriving at the same time. All right, let's play this back. And you can see it kind of sticks there. All right, so I think that's it for temporal stuff. Now let's talk about spatial. Now, what is the spatial exactly? So if we hit Shift Command H here, you can see this path right here. This is our spatial information. So it's starting off here and it's going down and then coming back up. Now let's do this. Let's take this middle keyframe and let's move it over this way. Now as I move it, take a look at the line. Take a look at those dots. See what's happening there? So basically, each one of these dots represents a frame. So at the first frame of the movement, the position of our ball is going to be here. And in the next frame, it's going to move to this spot, and then to this spot, and so on. Well, if you notice, and I kind of explained this last week too, you notice that the spaces between the dots is kind of, well, there's a lot of spacing, and then over here, we don't have a lot of spacing. Now, if I play this back, yeah, looks weird, right? So it kind of shoots down, sticks there, and then comes back up kind of slower. That's because, as I said, the distance between these two keyframes is a lot shorter than the distance between these two. But at the same time, the spatial distance between these two keyframes and these two keyframes are exactly the same. So because this keyframe is moved closer, even though it's equidistant from each point, it's still going to move faster because it takes less time to get to that point. And we can fix that by doing something that I mentioned last week, which is a Rove across time. So we can either go here, Rove across time, or we can go to Keyframe Interpolation, and under roving, you see that we have lock to time and Rove across time. Rove across time will even out the dots. Now your end keyframes here, they can't be a Rove across time. They have to be a regular keyframe. They can be a Bezier, You know, they can be an easy ease. But one thing you'll notice, you'll lose that easy ease for that middle keyframe. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right, so let's undo that. And let's undo the position of that one. So you can even see what's going on with this easy ease with this too as well. Whoa. So you can see we have even spacing. And then as it gets closer to the middle point here, the space is getting closer. And then they get further apart as they go. So that's temporal. Fit up to 100% here. Now let's talk about spatial. There's a couple ways you can change how After Effects interpolates the position and stuff like that. We can go up to the pen tool here and go to Convert Vertex tool. Now, if we click on this, right now this is a Bezier curve. If we click on that point, you'll notice that the handles are gone and it's now just a sharp point. So what we can do here is we can pull this handle over, pull this handle over, maybe set these two keyframes to easy ease. Set this, oh, come on. Set this to linear, and now we have a bounce. Pretty simple bounce right there, just with 3 keyframes. So now we're going to duplicate this one more time. We're going to select our keyframes. We're going to move this down to here. And we are going to set the interpolation, keyframe interpolation. We're going to set these all to linear. And set the spatial to linear as well. We're going to go to this last keyframe here, or to this middle keyframe. And X and Y. We're going to go on Y. We're going to bring this up to here. So now we're going to mess with our spatial and temporal. So we're gonna make this look like it's kind of going up a hill, and it's gonna kind of sit at the top and then roll down. So we need a hill. So we can go over to our Convert Vertex tool. We can click on that, or we can do the old keyframe interpolation. Now you notice this is set to Auto Bezier. We can set it to Continuous and Bezier. All right, so now that we have it set under Bezier, let's grab this right-hand handle and move it. If you notice, the left doesn't move with it. So we right-click on here again, go to Keyframe Interpolation, set this to Continuous Bezier. You notice that snapped. Now, if you grab the left, or if you grab the right, the left moves with it. So that's the difference between continuous and just regular old Bezier. Now notice, if I move the right one in and out, the left one doesn't come with it. So if I hold down Alt and move this, you can see now both of our handles are moving in the same way. Hold Alt again and move it. You can move it as a Bezier, separate from the other one. All right, so let's change this back to continuous Bezier. And then set this middle keyframe to be an easy ease. So F9. Maybe make this, don't forget to hold down Alt. Maybe make this a wider curve. So you can see by this example just the crazy amount of looks that you can get just by messing with and having different interpolations. In fact, let's take this bouncy one. This one right here. Let's close this. Take this one, duplicate it. Open up our keyframes. Select our keyframes. Go to the first one. Move this down. All right. Go to this middle keyframe here. Make sure none of the keyframes are selected. And let's take the position and move it up a little bit. So like here. Now take this middle keyframe, easy ease. Here, actually, there's a lot going on. All right, so let's take a look at this one. Right. So this one kind of sticks. It's more of a hop, while the other one looks more like a bounce. Bouncy. All right, so let's unsolo those. So now we have 7 examples here. It's all basically the same animation, you know, aside from the first 3 or 4. You know, it's for the most part, it's the same amount of keyframes. It's definitely the same amount of time, but they're all doing very different things. So that is a basic rundown of interpolation. So that's basically it. And, you know, stay tuned next week. We're going to be going over the graph editor. We're going to take these simple animations and bring even more life into them. So what I would suggest is keep it simple, but maybe mess around with the keyframes. See what different effects you can create just by, you know, making one keyframe linear and another easy ease and so on. All right. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I think that was it, right?